I entered the world on a chilly autumn morning, just moments after my twin sister. Yet that tiny difference has felt like a vast divide throughout my life. As a child, I often felt like a shadow, ever present, yet often overlooked. I'm Emily Carter, but in that house, I often felt like just the alternative. What about my sister Allison? She was at the heart of it all. Lisa and David Carter, my parents, owned a charming little house in the suburbs of Massachusetts, embodying the quintessential image of a middle-class American family. At first glance, they appeared to be devoted parents, but the truth was that their love was far from evenly shared. My mother thrived as a real estate agent, constantly engaged with clients, and always dressed in impeccably tailored business suits. My father operated a small accounting firm, often lost in spreadsheets and hardly noticing the happenings at home. However, there was one thing that truly mattered to both of them. Allison was the one. I can't pinpoint the exact moment I noticed the imbalance in our home, but I vividly recall that afternoon when Mom took us shopping. Allison walked away with a shiny new pair of sneakers, while I was left sifting through the clearance rack. Or perhaps it was Christmas when we were 7, and under the tree, Allison's stack of presents loomed nearly twice as high as mine. Yet the most telling indication was the way they gazed at her, eyes brimming with pride and anticipation. Their gaze was piercing, as if I were nothing more than an afterthought. Allison was the undeniable favorite, shining bright during birthdays, stealing the spotlight with her clothes, and soaking up compliments whenever guests arrived. In every family photo, Mom took center stage, flaunting her expensive dresses and flawless curls, while I awkwardly stood off to the side in a last-minute bargain bin outfit, looking for any summer job. They weren't cruel, not really. They didn't need me. I spent my whole childhood seeking answers to why. I always believed I was just like Allison when we were kids. Our soft brown hair matched perfectly, those striking green eyes just like Dad's. Yet, she always managed to stand out with an even brighter glow. Perhaps she was meant to shine in the light, while I lingered in the shadows. I first spotted it when we were around 5 years old. Mom took us out for an exciting shopping spree to grab some fresh fall clothes. I was thrilled when I spotted a pair of blue sneakers that I absolutely adored, but when Mom caught sight of the price tag, she immediately shook her head. "That's too pricey, Emily. We really need to cut back on expenses." I nodded, even though I didn't quite grasp what saving money really meant back then. Just a few minutes later, as she paused at another rack and grabbed a brand new pair of Nike sneakers for Allison, I felt a change inside me. "But you mentioned we needed to save," I pointed out. Mom didn't even glance up. "Allison is on the hunt for the perfect shoes for gym class." "Really? You don't?" I kept quiet and simply lowered my head. I grabbed the clearance rack shoes and convinced myself they weren't so bad after all. Yet deep down, something new began to grow. A tiny stone splashed into the calm waters of my thoughts, creating the initial ripples. The difference stood out even more during the holidays. I'll never forget that Christmas when we were 6. The night before, Allison and I eagerly hung our stockings by the fireplace, bubbling with excitement for Santa's arrival. As we dashed downstairs the next morning, I spotted it right away. Allison's pile of presents towered over me. Is it mine? A tidy little stack, tucked away in the corner. I pushed down the lump in my throat, reminding myself that it's not about the number, it's all about the thought. As Allison eagerly tore open box after box. Barbie dolls, a dollhouse, and a collection of high-end art supplies await you. I tore open the packaging to reveal a plastic doll and a coloring book. "Hey, Emily, what do you think? Do you like it?" Dad inquired as I revealed my last present. A dull gray sweater, obviously snagged in a hasty shopping spree. I smiled, but it wasn't completely sincere. "Absolutely, I'm all in." As I glanced over at Allison, I noticed Mom assisting her with ribbons in her hair, marveling at her stunning new princess dress, and showering her with compliments about how beautiful she looked. No one even saw me. At 6 years old, Allison's mom took her to a salon for her first ear-piercing adventure. I couldn't help but gaze at her dazzling new earrings, a wave of childish envy rising within me. "I want to get mine pierced as well," I said. Mom instantly shook her head. "Earrings just aren't your style, Emily. I know you wouldn't be a fan." I was puzzled. How did she know what I'd like when I hadn't even tried it before? When Mom signed Allison up for ballet lessons, I couldn't contain my excitement. I dreamed of wearing a pink tutu, twirling on the polished wooden floors just like she did. But when I asked, Mom simply shook her head. It's not possible. We can't manage to pay for lessons for both of you. Yet, there was always cash set aside for Allison. If she wanted something, Mom always made it happen. Gymnastics, piano, swimming. Let's dive into these exciting activities. Allison dove into every experience, while I stood on the sidelines quietly observing. I made an effort to not let it bother me. I convinced myself that perhaps I didn't truly desire those things. At night, I found myself gazing at the glow-in-the-dark stars on our ceiling while Allison sighed, her light always outshining mine. I discovered that favoritism goes beyond just material possessions. The magic was in the little details, the ones that slipped right under the radar. That was the deepest pain. I always believed that starting school would transform my world. I refused to be the forgotten child or live in Allison's shadow any longer. I hoped teachers would notice me, classmates would treat me with fairness, and perhaps, just perhaps, my parents would finally understand that I mattered as well. I was mistaken. On the very first morning of school, Mom whisked us outside for some fun pictures. Allison and I rocked the same uniforms: plait skirts, crisp white blouses, and stylish navy cardigans. At that moment, I finally sensed the undeniable bond of being twins. Fair and balanced. Mom lifted her phone, angled her head toward Allison, and said, "Listen, turn your head a bit. Yes, just like that. Now smile. Perfect." I stood right there, waiting, but Mom just glanced at the picture and tucked her phone away. There isn't a single photo where I'm the center of attention. I convinced myself it was merely a slip-up. As we entered the school, I couldn't shake the sense that this was only the start of a never-ending pattern. After our first class, I spotted Mom's car parked right by the school gate. I rushed toward it, but just before I could reach the door, she turned to Allison, her face beaming with excitement. "Are you all set for ballet class, sweetheart?" I locked my gaze on her, anticipation building. Yet she hardly looked my way. "Emily, head straight home and get that homework done." It caught me off guard, and I couldn't quite figure out why. This is how it always played out. From Monday to Friday, Mom drove Allison to her extracurricular activities. How about ballet? Experience the magic of the piano. Creating art through painting. Join us for swimming lessons every weekend. What about me? As I strolled home solo, I tackled my homework in a quiet house, with only the rhythmic ticking of the clock and the faint sounds of neighbors drifting in from outside. I initially believed that if I put in enough effort, they would recognize my dedication. I dedicated countless hours to perfecting my handwriting, tackling extra math problems, and diving into literature ahead of time to ensure I could answer every question the teacher threw my way. I began achieving perfect scores on my tests. Yet, nothing shifted. One evening, as Mom and Allison came back from ballet, I dashed up to them, excitedly holding out my math test. "Mom, guess what? I got a perfect score," I exclaimed, eagerly handing her the paper. She shot a quick glance at it before turning to Allison. "Hey there, what did you discover in ballet class today?" I mastered the triple spin, and my teacher praised me for it. Allison couldn't help but beam with pride. Mom clapped her hands, her face beaming with pride. I knew it. My little star is incredibly talented. I stood there, clutching my test paper, overwhelmed by a sense of emptiness. By the time I hit 12, I had given up on expecting any recognition from my parents. I focused intently on my studies, pushing through the nagging sensation of being left behind. Then, one unforgettable night, I heard something that changed everything. The hour was late. I stayed up late, engrossed in a book in my room. I noticed my door wasn't completely shut, and through the small gap, I caught snippets of my parents chatting in the living room below. Have you ever stopped to think? We messed up. Dad spoke in a low voice. Did I make a mistake? Mom seemed really annoyed. The kids. Allison is truly wonderful, but have you ever wondered if two was just too much? Embrace the silence. My heart raced in my chest. Absolutely, Mom whispered. Allison is truly everything we dreamed of in a child. But Emily, she's simply present. She's just like everyone else. I gripped the edge of my bed tightly. I was in shock at what I had just heard. I always sensed that their love for me was never quite the same as what they felt for Allison. Hearing them say it, confirming they had never even wanted me, felt like a knife piercing straight through my heart. My throat tightened. Yet I held back the tears. I sat there, gazing at the ceiling, and for the first time ever, I let go of hope. The moment I overheard my parents express that they never wanted me, everything shifted within me. I had given it a shot before. I sought Mom's attention, aimed for Dad's praise, and worked hard to find my own spot in this family. Now, I get it. No matter my efforts, they remained unchanged. Long ago, they made the bold choice to declare Allison as their pride, the one child they absolutely required. I couldn't change them, but I could transform myself. That's precisely what I chose to do. I had given up on expecting my parents' love, but my mind was still my own. If I couldn't earn their approval, I'd find another way to succeed. Victory. I fully immersed myself in my studies. I didn't just stop at the 3 chapters the teacher assigned, I dove into 5. I didn't just meet the requirement of 1 page of analysis for my essay, I delivered 3 pages packed with airtight arguments. I jumped into academic clubs, took on the debate team, and clinched victory in every academic competition I faced. One by one, my teachers started to take notice of me. "Allison, Emily, your essay on the American dream was outstanding," my English teacher noted one day. My math teacher praised Emily in front of the class for her outstanding logical reasoning skills. Each time those words reached my ears, I felt a surge of strength. I didn't require my parents' approval. I can show my value independently. However, not everyone was pleased with it. Allison thrived on being the center of attention, but now there was something just out of her reach. Let's celebrate the incredible impact our teachers have on us. I could see the irritation in her eyes whenever I received praise, and I could hear the frustration in her voice when I clinched first place in a competition. "That's so boring," she muttered, eyeing the gold medal in my hand. Who really cares? Allison definitely cared, and I could feel it. And I could tell Mom cared too. It wasn't out of pride for me. It was her frustration with seeing Allison take the spotlight. Everything reached a tipping point on a Monday afternoon. We had just wrapped up an important exam, and then the teacher revealed the scores. I achieved the top spot in my class with a flawless score. Allison is sitting right next to me, just scraped by with an average grade. During dinner that night, Mom was surprisingly silent. The tension in the air was palpable. The next morning, as I strolled through the school hallway, I spotted her chatting with the principal. "Principal Dawson, I'm really worried," she exclaimed, her voice carrying clearly to me and several students around us. The teachers here definitely show a noticeable bias. I've observed that my daughter, Allison, is facing unfair treatment. In the meantime, Emily is the one receiving all the accolades. I was completely frozen in place. I was shocked to see my mother doing this. The principal, always composed, replied with a steady voice. "Mrs. Carter, the students' grades truly showcase their abilities. No favoritism exists here." However, my mother wouldn't accept that. She argued passionately, her insistence rising with each word, but ultimately when she saw that no one would budge, she stormed off, her face burning with anger. Allison burst out of the office immediately after. She wore a smug expression on her face. "Mom's not going to let this go," she whispered, glancing back at me as she walked by. I just didn't care. I didn't require Mom's approval. I had to keep pushing ahead. I felt drained from pleading with my parents for pocket money, only to see them casually give Allison big bills without a moment's hesitation. At 16, I took the plunge and decided to start earning my own money. I landed a job at a cozy little cafe just around the corner from our house. It lacked glamour. Brewing coffee, wiping down tables, and tidying up. I truly cherished the freedom. I truly appreciated having coworkers who recognized my worth. I absolutely loved seeing the smiles on customers' faces and hearing their thanks when I delivered their drinks. For the first time ever, I truly felt like I belonged. Even the tiniest things matter, in a world that wasn't centered on Allison. But naturally, that didn't go over well with her. "Wow, I can't believe you're really working as a waitress." One morning, she let out a scoff when she spotted me in my cafe uniform. "That's incredibly disappointing." I simply shrugged it off. "Good," I replied, showing no sign of being affected by her insults. "I'm not interested in living extravagantly like you do." Allison shot me a fierce glare. For the first time, I felt neither fear nor pain. I was creating a life that was uniquely mine, and I realized this is just the start. I used to believe that my mother's side of the family was just a figment of my imagination. As I was growing up, My mom never once brought up my maternal grandparents. Without pictures, letters, or holiday phone calls, it feels empty. Every time I asked, she shot back with the same brief reply: at a certain point in our lives. No one dared to challenge it any further, and as time passed, I just came to terms with the idea that they were either gone or not worth holding on to. Then, one day, I uncovered the truth. That night, I returned home after my shift at the cafe. I caught a glimpse of Mom's office and heard her voice echoing from inside. Edgy, annoyed. "I've already said it. I'm not looking for anything from you, so please stop calling me." After a lengthy pause, she finally broke the silence, her voice dropping yet remaining icy. "I've created a better life without you, so don't even think about coming back." Suddenly, the phone slammed down with a force that made me flinch. I stood frozen outside the door, my heart racing wildly. Who was she chatting with? She had never looked so shaken before. Based on what I just heard, it's clear there's only one possibility. It had to be my grandparents. I couldn't shake the feeling of curiosity that kept me awake all night. The following morning, as Mom and Allison hit the stores, I dove into her office to search for clues. Amidst piles of files and business documents, I stumbled upon an old notebook, its brown leather cover beautifully worn with age. I flipped through the pages and paused when I noticed a handwritten address. Directly beside the words, "Do not contact." I took a seat, feeling my heart race. The address was just a stone's throw away in the next town over. I knew precisely what needed to be done. That afternoon, I decided to skip work and hop on the bus to the address in the notebook. I was completely unsure of what was coming next. A dilapidated house in a worn-out neighborhood. When the bus came to a halt, I was completely taken aback. A charming, well-kept house stood before me, boasting a neatly trimmed lawn, vibrant flower beds, and a pristine white picket fence that caught the eye. This place showed no indication that it belonged to those my mother had decided were unworthy of reaching out to. I approached the door, took a deep breath, and knocked with purpose. The door swung open in an instant. The woman in front of me had silver hair elegantly pinned back, her warm brown eyes sparkling with surprise. As I stood there, an older man with thin glasses rose from his chair, his gaze fixed on me with keen interest. "Who are you?" I took a deep breath, my voice shaking as I began to speak. "Hi there, I'm Emily Carter." The woman's eyes widened, and the man mumbled something under his breath as they both froze, locked in a stare at me. "Oh my God," she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "That's her. We have a granddaughter." In an instant, she wrapped her arms around me in a tight embrace. They welcomed me in and settled me onto a plush burgundy couch, its velvet upholstery inviting and luxurious. Just as I was about to ask a question, she burst into tears. "I can't believe we're finally meeting you," she exclaimed, gripping my hands tightly. "We made an effort to connect, but your mother always held us back." "Hold on," I inquired, feeling a tightness in my chest. "What made her decide to cut you out of her life?" The old man let out a deep sigh. "Your mother always dreamed of a more glamorous life. When she married your father, she felt a sense of shame about our family's wealth compared to his." I tightened my fists. Did my mother actually wipe out an entire part of our family just for that? Just as my anger began to bubble up, my grandmother spoke once more, her voice gentle yet resolute. "Listen up, there's something important you need to hear." She shot a look at my grandfather, then turned back to me, her face brimming with an intriguing mystery. "We have what we need." I blinked. "What's going on?" My grandfather let out a hearty chuckle, his eyes sparkling with delight. "Years ago, we made a bold investment in technology. Let's just say we're in a pretty good financial position. We never aimed for a life of luxury. This home, this life, absolutely love it." I sat there, utterly speechless. My mother abandoned them, believing they weren't good enough. But in reality, they could be wealthier than my parents. My grandmother held my hand with a gentle squeeze. "What truly matters is that you're here now, Emily, and you always have a family waiting for you." For the first time in ages, I felt an incredible sense of belonging. Did I really know? This is just the start. I've always understood my role in this family. I wasn't the source of pride. I was not the favored one. Even though I had come to terms with that truth, I was still caught off guard by how brutally clear they made it on my graduation day. Graduating from high school was meant to be a significant milestone. It's time to celebrate my achievements, my hard work, and my journey into adulthood. For Allison and the Carter family, it was simply another event on the calendar. Bright and early, Mom was all about making sure Allison looked perfect, meticulously steaming the cream-colored silk dress she had chosen just for the ceremony. Dad buzzed around, snapping countless photos of her from every angle, showering her with compliments about how absolutely perfect she looked. What about me? I slipped into the simple dress I had purchased for myself with my own hard-earned money. No one bothered to ask if I needed help. When the principal called my name as valedictorian at the ceremony, a faint round of applause rippled through the auditorium. I stood on stage, searching the family section with eager anticipation. My parents offered a quick, half-hearted clap, but just moments later, they shifted their focus back to their chat with Allison, clearly captivated by her dress. When Allison's name was announced, my parents leaped to their feet, clapping enthusiastically as if she had just clinched an Olympic gold medal. I pressed my lips together, clutching my diploma with determination. At this point, I should have moved past the pain. Yet, it still hurt. The next morning, I woke up with a delicate yet persistent hope. Maybe, just this once, they would see me the way they saw Allison. What I received was a harsh reality check. "Emily, I've got some fantastic news to share." Mom excitedly packed a suitcase. I took a quick look around the living room. Allison was testing out some new sunglasses. Dad was busy browsing plane tickets on his phone. An unsettling feeling twisted in my stomach. "We're heading to Hawaii to celebrate graduation," Mom declared, her eyes shining with excitement. I blinked. "Are we?" Mom paused for just a moment, then dove right back into packing. "It's your dad, Allison, and me. You get it, right? We need someone to stay home and keep an eye on the house. Plus, you've got your cafe job as well." It was as if I had been hit hard in the stomach. "Wait, so the three of you are heading out while I'm stuck here?" My voice was hoarse. Mom let out a sigh, clearly thinking I was being unreasonable. "Emily, let's not overreact. You don't really love the beach, do you? Plus, this is a great opportunity to pick up extra shifts and get ready for college." I looked over at Dad. He barely glanced my way, just muttering absent-mindedly. "Your mom's got a point. Stop being selfish." I shot a glance at Allison, who was wearing a smirk. "Oh, don't worry, sweetheart," she said, her voice oozing with insincere sympathy. "Get ready for a ton of pictures coming your way." The following day, I positioned myself by the door, eyes fixed on the taxi as it whisked them away. Allison waved at me, her gesture dripping with pity. As the car vanished from sight, a wave of anger surged within me. I was left behind. I was never really seen as part of the family. I reached my breaking point. With trembling hands, I grabbed my phone and dialed my grandmother's number. "Hey, Grandma!" "They're gone," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. "They abandoned me." She inhaled deeply on the other end of the line. "I'm so excited to be here right now. We're throwing you the amazing graduation party you truly deserve." I dashed out of the house right away. As soon as I arrived, I was greeted by a delightful surprise. My grandparents had organized a charming little party in their backyard. A vibrant "Congratulations, Emily" banner fluttered on the fence, while colorful balloons danced in the warm glow of the late afternoon sun. What really caught me off guard was the car parked right in front of the house. A stunning silver Mercedes C-Class shines brilliantly in the warm golden light. I was completely frozen in place. My grandfather beamed as he held up a small keyring, presenting it to me with a warm gesture. "Congratulations, Emily. This is your graduation gift. You've put in so much effort, and we want to ensure you have a powerful launch into your future." I was at a loss for words. Tears stung my eyes as I gazed at them. These two individuals embraced me wholeheartedly, even though we were practically strangers. They loved me without needing a reason. They adored me just for being their granddaughter. For the first time ever, I genuinely felt like I was part of a family. I gripped the car keys tightly, fully aware that this was more than just a gift. A message arrived. I no longer needed them. A sleek black taxi pulled up to the curb, coming to a sudden halt right in front of the house. I caught a glimpse of my parents and Allison stepping out through the window. With designer shopping bags in hand and light jackets casually draped over their shoulders, they exuded effortless style. They appeared revitalized after their Hawaiian getaway. With sun-kissed skin and sleek hair, Allison captures the moment with yet another selfie on her phone. However, Time stood still as my mother's eyes locked onto the Mercedes C-Class parked perfectly in the driveway. I glanced up, eager for her to say something. At that moment, she dried off completely and made her way home, moving with a quiet grace. She tensed up, stepping back. Allison, lost in thought, collided straight into her. As she looked up, her blue eyes widened in disbelief, as if she had just witnessed the impossible. What on earth is this? Allison let out a piercing shriek. My father frowned, his gaze darting between the car and me, arms crossed on the porch. I watched them, as if I had been anticipating this reaction all along. Who owns this car? His voice cut through the air with a chilling edge. I spun the keys around my finger, a slow smile creeping across my face. Focus. My mother gasped, as though she had just been hit with a gut-wrenching blow. Is it yours? Her voice trembled. Where did you find the funds for this? Casually leaning against the doorframe, I relished every second of this moment. It was a gift from Grandma and Grandpa. Celebrate this milestone with a perfect graduation gift. The air turned icy. Hold on a moment. Just 2 seconds. 3. Suddenly, my mother burst into a strained, breathless laugh. Yet, her eyes were filled with panic. What about grandparents? Are you saying... What about my parents? I nodded in agreement. Absolutely. The ones you dismissed because you believed they didn't fit into your vision of a perfect life. My father's head whipped around to face my mother, his expression transforming from confusion to suspicion in an instant. Lisa, you said they were struggling financially. My mother pressed her lips together, but Allison burst out laughing. Hold on, she just pointed a finger at me, eyes sparkling with intensity. Our grandparents are still with us, and they have some cash to spare? I shrugged my shoulders. Not only are they alive, but they're thriving and achieving great success. They made a smart move by investing in tech years ago. Let's just say they're thriving. My mother's face lost all color, her perfectly manicured fingers clutching her designer handbag so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Yet, in an instant, she gathered herself, plastering a warm, albeit insincere, smile across her face. Emily, let's sit down and have a chat. Family is family after all, right? It's fantastic that you were able to reconnect with them. I've missed them as well. I couldn't help but chuckle at how quickly she changed direction. Before I could even reply, she pressed on, her voice dripping with sweetness. Allison is about to start college, and she definitely needs a reliable car to get around. Isn't it only fair that they lend her a hand as well? I locked my gaze on her. I was completely stunned by what I was hearing. My father nodded in agreement, and Allison reached out her hand, clearly anticipating that I would hand over the keys. I burst into laughter. A true, heartfelt laugh. Absolutely not. I pronounced the word deliberately, allowing it to resonate. This car belongs to me. No one is going to take this away from me. My mother's expression shifted in an instant. Emily, you can't keep being this selfish. Do you honestly believe you deserve this more than Allison? I tilted my head and locked eyes with her. Absolutely, I do. The air was charged with tension, and I could sense the anger bubbling just beneath my mother's surface. Just as she was about to lose it, I coolly reached into my pocket and pulled out an envelope. One more thing. I pulled out a letter and raised it for everyone to see. Congratulations! You've been accepted to Princeton! Suddenly, the house was enveloped in silence. My parents stopped in its tracks. Allison's jaw dropped in surprise. Text, I received a full scholarship? I said confidently. In just a few days, I'm heading out. I'm not coming back. My mother staggered, as if my words had knocked her off balance. Actually, you can't. Absolutely I can. I ended things with her. Absolutely I will. Allison finally broke free from her shock and stepped right in front of me. You can't just walk away like this. You're my sister. I locked eyes with her directly. Really? I used to believe I was just a nobody in this house. Allison found herself for the very first time completely speechless. I pivoted sharply and strode confidently toward my Mercedes. I swung open the driver's door, hopped into the seat, and fired up the engine. As I looked up, I noticed my mother opening her mouth, as if she had something to say. However, she chose not to. She stood there, eyes fixed on me as I drove away. My father remained silent. Allison stood there, her face a powerful blend of shock and fury. I drove away from the driveway, shedding years of neglect, rejection, and invisibility. For the very first time, I experienced true freedom. Emily Carter's story is a powerful tale of breaking free from favoritism and neglect. This truly showcases the strength of determination and self-reliance. She focused on being herself, refusing to change for her parents or seek validation from those who didn't value her. She decided to forge her own path, discovering love and support from those who genuinely cared. No one can choose their birthplace, but everyone has the power to decide how they live and carve their own path to success. Walking away from toxicity can be your first step toward discovering genuine happiness. Emily Carter's story prompts us to think, is family really our true home? Or do we need to forge our own way at times? How do you feel about Emily's choices? We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, and make sure to follow the channel for more impactful stories.